19-year-old Karmelo Anthony sentenced to 35 years in prison for fatally stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a track meet. Metcalf's father delivering an emotional.
Before I get into the description of these charges and their seriousness, I want to look at this as a parent. I am a parent of 3 children, and a parent's nightmare is a situation where your daughter goes out one night and never comes back.
A single moment. One stab wound. 2 families forever changed. For more than a year, the death of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a Texas high school track meet sparked fierce debate across social media, news outlets, and courtrooms. Some believed it was murder. Others argued self-defense. Now, after a closely watched trial, a jury has delivered its verdict. Karmelo Anthony has been found guilty of murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison. But even after the verdict, the story is far from over, because Anthony has already filed an appeal. Tonight, we're breaking down exactly what happened, what jurors heard inside the courtroom, and why this case continues to generate intense public debate. Welcome back to Nebium True Crime. If you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications because we cover real cases, courtroom developments, and criminal investigations from around the world. Now let's get into one of the most talked about cases in recent memory. April 2nd, 2025. Students from multiple schools gathered in Frisco, Texas, for a track and field competition. What began as a normal school sporting event would soon become national news. According to court testimony and reporting, weather conditions caused students to gather under tents around the stadium. At some point, Karmelo Anthony, then 17 years old, ended up under a tent associated with another school's team. That tent belonged to athletes from Frisco Memorial High School. Among them was 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. Witnesses described a confrontation that began over Anthony being in the tent. What happened next would become the central question of the entire trial. Was it self-defense? Or was it murder? Witnesses testified that tensions escalated quickly. Words were exchanged. The encounter became physical. Moments later, Austin Metcalf had been stabbed in the chest. The injury pierced his heart. Emergency responders rushed to help. But despite those efforts, Austin would not survive. The shocking nature of the incident immediately drew public attention. A disagreement lasting only moments had ended in a tragedy that would affect countless lives. Anthony was arrested at the scene. Authorities launched an investigation. And before long, prosecutors filed a murder charge. As details emerged, and the case spread rapidly across social media, millions of people formed opinions before the trial even began. Some viewed the incident as a clear act of murder. Others argued that Anthony believed he was in danger and acted to protect himself. The case soon became one of the most discussed criminal cases in Texas. Public opinion became deeply divided. But ultimately, the decision would not be made online. It would be made by 12 jurors in a courtroom. In June 2026, the murder trial finally began. Prosecutors argued that Anthony escalated a dispute that never justified deadly force. They claimed the evidence showed murder rather than self-defense. The defense told a very different story. Anthony's legal team argued he feared for his safety during the confrontation and reacted under pressure. Throughout the trial, jurors heard testimony from students, investigators, and other witnesses connected to the incident. The central question remained the same. Did Anthony reasonably believe he needed to use deadly force? Or did he intentionally commit murder? Days of testimony followed. Emotions ran high. Families on both sides listened as witnesses described the final moments before Austin Metcalf lost his life. After hearing the evidence, jurors began deliberations. The outcome would determine the future of a young man who was still a teenager when the incident occurred. After several hours, the verdict arrived. Guilty. Not manslaughter. Not self-defense. Murder. The jury rejected the defense argument and concluded that Anthony knowingly caused Austin Metcalf's death. The courtroom was emotional. For Austin's family, the verdict represented accountability. For Anthony's family, it marked the beginning of a long prison sentence. The trial then moved into the punishment phase. Jurors considered how many years Anthony should serve. Because he was tried as an adult under Texas law, he faced the possibility of a lengthy sentence. After further deliberation, jurors sentenced him to 35 years in prison. The sentence immediately became another source of debate. Some believed it was appropriate. Others felt it was too severe, and some argued it should have been longer. Regardless of public opinion, the jury's decision was final, at least for now. Less than 24 hours after sentencing, Anthony's legal team filed a notice of appeal. An appeal does not determine whether someone is innocent or guilty. Instead, appellate courts review whether legal errors occurred during the trial process. Anthony's attorneys believe there are issues that deserve further review. As a result, the legal battle is continuing even after the conviction. This means the story that began under a track meet tent is still unfolding. Cases like this often leave society with difficult questions. How quickly can an argument turn deadly? What legally qualifies as self-defense? Could this tragedy have been prevented? And how do communities heal after a loss that captures national attention? Regardless of where people stand on the verdict, one fact remains unchanged. A young life was lost. Another young life will spend decades behind bars. And two families will carry the consequences forever. The Karmelo Anthony case has become one of the most discussed criminal cases in recent years. With an appeal now underway, new developments could still emerge in the months ahead. What do you think? Did the jury reach the right verdict? Or do you believe the appeal could change the outcome? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If you found this breakdown informative, please like the video, subscribe to Nebium True Crime, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future case updates. Thanks for watching. And remember, behind every headline is a real human story.